This is taking longer, I'm sorry, but these are probably important issues. As we continue down, one of the other areas that you talked about and took an action on is RJ, which is that location there.
When do we hit the railroads property?
Right there. So all of this property through here, we are 50-foot offset from their tracks, their centerline tracks, and we are going to purchase from that our edge all the way out to McLaughlin Boulevard. So as we head south here, and there were some other smaller properties that we had impacted that didn't highlight.
Get Carol though, because that I think is a. Maybe Neil, you can just speak a moment with UP on this piece.
This is Harold.
Right, so we have been involved, and we'll actually bring to the board at some point kind of a briefing on our negotiations with Union Pacific, which obviously have been really wide-ranging because we really parallel their facilities from really the east edge of the Portland-Milwaukie Bridge all the way through to the end of Milwaukee, if you will, until we turn onto McLaughlin Boulevard. One of the key issues that they've had is that at Carroll, they have actually required that the light rail would come up and over that, if you will, entry to their yard. One of the key things that has happened over the last year that is new is that they have concentrated their, what they call their intermodal facility here at Portland Yard. So there's going to be, both now and hopefully in the future as traffic builds, a great deal more truck traffic coming in and out of the Brooklyn Yard. Their current way of moving trucks out of the Brooklyn Yard is really quite awkward and probably doesn't work. We've all agreed that the best long-term solution is to create this access right at Harold, where there's an existing signal at McLaughlin, so trucks can go both north and south, directly on McLaughlin rather than sort of meandering through the neighborhood now. But again, one of the requirements of UP is that we be grade separated through that intersection, i.e. that we be above the truck level, so the trucks are unimpeded in terms of their in and out, if you will, function, primarily their out function from the yard.
Yeah, there's 3 different container operations combined that are going out to that yard. That's going to be heavy container traffic.
And we're certainly seeing some of that now in this area, but again, I think as the economy returns to full speed, we'll see more.
Yeah, more and more.
Okay, I'm going to continue down the path here. Yeah. So we've got golf course over here, we've got Westmoreland neighborhood over here, and our next station is right here at Bybee. So we have elevators that go down to location down here, station located here. So
Is that where the dilapidated bridge is?
actually,
It's brand new.
it's a brand new bridge.
Where's the spot where the Reed neighborhood, on Reedway, or where were they wanted?
Okay, that's going back up to Harold.
Oh, it's back on here.
So the neighborhood has said, during the LPA process, we suggest, there was a station that we looked at here. When we looked at the ridership for stopping there, you actually lost more ridership by stopping there. People got on the train, but because you're slowing down the train to stop it, you actually lost people. And that's when we assumed that there was a bridge that goes all the way across the Union Pacific tracks to here, and a bridge that went over to McLaughlin over here. So through that LPA process, we determined that this would be a future station. And right now, and frankly tonight, we're going out to the neighborhoods and we're talking about triggers. At what point would that station warrant being built? And the idea is, well, you'd want to see some redevelopment over here that attracted more trips. You'd want to see not just zoning, but more activity there. And so that'll be an interesting conversation that we have tonight. At this point, it's a future station. This is Reed Way that connects in and would connect up to, if you will, to Reed College that's over here. Okay? I'm going to keep going here. So that's Bybee again next to the Union Pacific. Now we're coming up, this is Westmoreland Park, and then we're coming up to our next park and ride. So our park and ride here is located at the old Goodwill site. This is Johnson Creek here. This is the old Goodwill site. That's where our station is. And we transition back over to being 50-foot offset from the Union Pacific Railroad. Had good discussions with Charlie Bishop from the Pendleton family about about reuse of this building, potentially. How you redo that, Jillian Detweiler and our development group has been working very closely with them, trying to figure out.
Which building is it?
It's this building here, so it's the old wood mill. This is a pretty good story because this is the Springwater corridor. We connect into that, and so we have good connections into the Ardwall neighborhood and the Selwood neighborhood over here by ramps going up to that connection. And then we are, if you will, we're going into the North Industrial area. This is Milwaukee's North Industrial area. This is George Anderson's beaver heat treating. We're displacing that. And again, we have to be 50-foot offset from the Union Pacific alignment. That is property owned by ODOT, and we could use that for staging. And then we, if you will, we cross over the Tillamook branch alignment. This is a seldom used once a day, twice a day alignment that the Union Pacific owns, that the Portland and Western operates on. And this is the Union Pacific's main line. They care much about this. So we've got them to agree that a 25-foot offset from the Tillamook branch line is okay, 50-foot off the main line. And that impacts where our displacements are to a degree.
You mentioned the 50-foot offset, and I almost thought it was like a federal requirement, and you just mentioned that you've got to, so it's really the railroad that'll allow that?
Railroad has had experience with a couple wrecks in Littleton, Colorado, where frankly coal has spilled 50 foot off of the freight line. And arbitrarily or not, they said, from now on, if you're going to put a light rail or commuter rail next to our tracks, we want it to be 50-foot offset. Law generally requires 25-foot offset. That's the general practice. This is a new request that occurred to us, brought to our attention by the Union Pacific during the negotiations. Ardwall neighborhood, we're going on a structure over the top here. And again, in this area, we're purchasing property from the Union Pacific.
Where's our parking right?
Our parking right is right coming up here. So this is Nailwell. Our parking right will be right over here. I can kind of scoot over there if you'd like. Wrong way. So that is the Southgate Cinema site, which we call the Milford, Maine parking right. And we don't have a station over here, in part because it's so difficult to get to it.
Right.
I should have mentioned that at Tacoma, where the Goodwill site is, we're proposing a 800-space parking garage there. It was 1,000 spaces. Looking at the numbers, looking at some of the uncertainty about parking ride, we've actually proposed to reduce the size of that, in part because of concerns that we've heard from the Ardenwald neighborhood and Selwood neighborhood. So that's been one of the changes that we've been considering. I need to go faster, I'm sorry.
So we're taking out the Goodwill, right?
The Goodwill is no longer there. It was taken out before. We go into downtown Milwaukee here. We are within their right-of-way. So this is the Union Pacific right-of-way as we move through here. We have a business displacement there. Actually, that's a house displacement, a business displacement. This is a Union Pacific property. And then we go over the Kellogg Lake. That's Kronberg Park. And then we go on to the trolley trail. This is the old Portland Traction Company alignment, which was an interurban that went between Portland and Oregon City. And then we come to our terminus station at Park Avenue with 600-space park and ride located here. So that's the main alignment.
And just for location, give the Elks.
Oh, sorry. For those who know the Elks, that's the Elks lot here, which is up for sale, and other people are looking to purchase that.
Park and ride.
Potentially a very good thing to have a community center located next to a park and ride in our light rail station.